You may have lived around our Minnesota lakes for years and not realize there are businesses that send out scuba divers to hand pull weeds from the bottom of those lakes. But in the last few years, 2 young men have died doing that job. Now, for the first time, their families are teaming up, telling their stories to demand lawmakers close gaps in the law that KARE 11 Investigates has discovered are leaving young divers at risk.
Yep, there's our baby.
He was a bright light, a really bright light.
Dina and Bill Awney's adventurous son Brady
We have pictures of them all around the world.
had found the perfect summer job for a young man on the verge of adulthood, looking to make a bit of cash before officially joining the fire department.
It was advertised as, a cool summer job, get in shape, and you'll be scuba diving also.
His parents flagged the gig, pulling lake weeds with dive guys.
And we have to live with the fact that we pointed him towards it. We didn't know that on his 4th day he would never come home.
Lost in a scuba diving accident investigators would find was totally preventable. 2 years later,
He was just so joyful and fun
Joe Anderson's summer job
and loving.
with a different lake weed removal company would also turn deadly. His parents, David and Lori, left with photos
We know that he's in heaven.
instead of a son with his whole life ahead of him.
It's a tragedy.
Tragedies KARE 11 has discovered stemmed from fatal gaps in an industry where some regulations are as murky as the water.
It's a terrible, terrible thing for a lakeweed.
Brady Awney and Joe Anderson's stories are strikingly similar. Each was in his first week on the job. Neither had ever scuba dived before joining the company, and neither had a key piece of equipment that might have helped save his life.
Lost, gone. They're promising futures. Gone for what?
Brady died on Lake Minnetonka in May 2022. KARE 11 obtained police reports and OSHA documents showing 4 of the dive guys' team members on site that day did not have the experience or training. But here's the problem. We discovered the law doesn't spell out what sort of training is required, and it doesn't say divers need to be scuba certified.
What was your reaction when you learned Brady didn't have to be certified to dive?
I couldn't believe it.
What's more, the law requires a standby diver, keeping watch, but there wasn't one. Then there was Brady's gear, in these photos still wrapped with weeds. A weight belt investigators found was too heavy and on backwards, so when Brady got into trouble, he couldn't release it. Something he might have known if properly trained. And he didn't have a buoyancy control device, or BCD, a tool that inflates to help a diver return to the surface. That's not required either.
And it seems like this is just a complete lack, a hole in the system.
In the wake of Brady's death, OSHA fined dive guys $128,000. But even that wasn't enough of a warning to prevent another death.
That warning wasn't enough, was it?
No, that's the problem, right?
A problem revealed in May 2024 when Joe Anderson took a job with Your Lake Aquatic Plant Management to earn money for college.
Yeah, and it was the 3rd day on the job when he went into the water.
Into the water on muddy Lac Lavon. OSHA would find with just 10 to 15 minutes of training from a coworker who wasn't scuba certified either. Joe also didn't have a BCD safety device. 20 feet below the surface, he drowned.
I'm sure he had no idea what he was getting into in that situation, which makes us really sick.
This time, OSHA leveled a record-setting $730,000 fine against Your Lake. But for 2 grieving families, it was clear their losses needed to lead to bigger changes.
It's not safe. It's not going to be safe. That's why we're pushing for legislation to make it safer.
This shouldn't have happened once, but now it's happened twice.
DFL Senator Liz Bolden says she'll sponsor a bill to require scuba certification and safety equipment like BCDs for scuba weed removal.
If you are doing this work, if you have workers donning scuba gear and doing that, they should be certified, they should have appropriate equipment, they should have appropriate training.
In the House, Republican Dave Baker will carry a bill aimed at preventing another tragedy.
This bill is going to be in honor of Joe and Brady.
Way over there.
On the second anniversary of Brady's death, laying flowers on Lake Minnetonka, the Ownies again saw divers at work.
There's the other guy, literally where Brady died.
And they say they didn't see anyone on shore watching the boys in the water. OSHA is investigating.
We will see them someday.
For these families, it only highlights the urgency of their mission before frozen lakes melt into job sites.
We don't want another family facing what we've been facing, or the Ownies have for the last couple
And
of years.
another young person who had their whole life ahead of them, bright future, to just be snuffed out that way.
The owner of Dive Guys declined an on-camera interview, but tells me after Brady's death, all of his divers now have buoyancy control devices and what's called a PADI scuba certification. He says he supports making that a requirement. Now, the owner of Your Lake Aquatic Plant Management did not wish to comment. Julie?
I mean, it just makes you sick to your stomach, those poor families. And like they said, for weeds, and obviously the people hiring don't know that
No one would ever
the
want
risk
that
is that
risk.
high. But that happened on the same day they went to lay flowers on the dock. They saw people trying to mitigate
saw people
weeds.
again, and it was obviously horrifying. They reported it to OSHA, and we'll see what happens.
All right. Thank you, Lauren.